I'm just gonna start talking and see where this takes me. I'm also eating a vitamin, so deal with it. I don't know. It's at the part where it's crumbling. Not a good idea to eat a vitamin while I record. Oh well. Okay. Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel, Lockdown Literary Club. I am Sanjana. I have a raging headache today, and I shouldn't be recording, but I have been in a shitty mood for the last few days, so I figured at this point I can't wait around for my mood to get better. And with the whole discussion of how we shouldn't always be happy and perky on Instagram or social media, because that just gives everyone a false idea of who you are, and then puts undue pressure on people to again be constantly happy. Well, here, I'm not always happy, I'm not unhappy, I'm just irritated and in a shitty mood in the last couple of days. It's gonna go away. I might just be dehydrated. Haven't been getting enough water. Maybe that's just it. My mom would be happy to know water is the answer to everything. Oh well, or I'm just in a slump. Everyone goes through slumps. It's okay. And also, the other thing recently is RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death, hasn't necessarily helped. I know a lot of people have died this year, and I haven't really commented on any of them. And Imran Khan was an actor I really, really liked, but the whole social media was focused on it. So I'm like, I'm going to take a pass on this. I haven't been commenting on any of the movements also. Only because I think everyone that does know me know that I'm very liberal leftist. Well, not in economics point of view, but when it comes to human rights, social rights, and environmentalism and all of that, I am as left as you can get. Well, not as left as you can get, but I'm pretty left. I don't need to articulate. I think when it comes to Black Lives Movement, it's not my place to talk about it, and I do my part in talking about it to the people physically in my life. I don't really post about it just because I don't think it's my place, my particular place to talk about it. But the Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing kind of hit me a little bit just because she was one of my heroes. I know there are now people are cropping up with all the problematic things she did, and for me that's true of anyone. I'm not taking away anyone's criticism of her. I'm sure there's a validity to it. I haven't read it yet. I saw people post about it, and I'm just like, I'm going to give myself a few days before I get into the debate. There's two people in the law profession that I've always admired. One was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the other one is Pillay. I know I call her Navi Pillay. She is from South Africa. Well, Tamil South African. Her ancestors are from Tamil Nadu, but she was born and raised in South Africa, and she was one of the first female lawyers of Indian descent there. And then she was served as a judge on the tribunal for, was a special tribunal? What was the tribunal called? Words are not in my head today. I cannot find the words for it. I definitely studied this extensively. I think she was in the Yugoslavia. I don't know if she was on the Rwandan one, the genocide, the Tribunal for Justice for that. There's a proper word for it, and I'll put that in postscript down here. I should know it because this is what I studied in school and college, but what you gonna do? Okay. She was on the tribunal for that, and it was under her, or in that tribunal, but I give her credit for it, though it's a lot of people involved. So before that tribunal, not tribunal. Well, it's both are right. Just because my accent's wrong doesn't make the word wrong. I'm all over the place today. So, okay. Before that tribunal, rape in the time of conflict or war or civil war or genocide is always considered spoils of war. You attack your enemy, you kill them, you're allowed to steal their resources and their women, because women were maybe considered property. Well, they were not maybe, they were definitely considered property. So you were entitled to the women if you defeat your enemy. So that was the tribunal in the late 1990s that said, this is a crime against humanity, and women are not spoils of war. I thought it was really cool, and also very weird that it was in my lifetime, because I was born in 1994. Now you know how old I am. So anyways, that it was in my lifetime that women went from being just an object that is rewarded to the winner to being a whole person that's awarded, right? So that was Navi Pillay, and I really thought she was cool for that. So RBG was another person I really admired, and one of her first cases was that she argued for equality, but on the side of men. In the sense, we always look at equality as what is taken away from women, but it also applies to men, right? What is taken away from men, because when we're not just putting a burden on one half of the society, we're putting a burden on all of us. I mean, I don't really remember all the details of the case. It was something to do with how this man took some time off from work to be the primary caregiver for his aging mother or sick mother, and the government didn't recognize that because men can't be caregivers. So that was her case. That basically was fighting against gender norms. I mean, gender norms in society is different from gender norms built into the laws of a nation, right? That is systematic discrimination or inequality. So that's, and she won that case, and it was cool. It's a little depressing that she died, but I think the first thing I thought about when I heard that she died, and I explained it to my mother, was she's like, "Why are you bummed out about this?" And I was like, well, they're gonna put another justice on the bench of the Supreme Court, and it's just gonna, for decades, impact how laws are made in America. And I'm not even American. I don't live there for 4 years, and I feel like I have some stake in it. It's just because a lot of the media I consume comes from there. I don't know. I don't have much hope in India not electing Modi in the next term also. But I don't know, I'm slightly hopeful that they won't elect Trump again, but I don't know. It's bad. So I should just keep watching videos of Jacinda Ardern and AOC and Pete Buttigieg and just make myself happy, because the other side is just not fun. But that's not the point of this video. This video is actually about, oh my, just in a crappy mood. Okay, I'm gonna just talk about these books. I'm sorry, books, you don't deserve this much anger, but they're there. So this is the part 2 of the books I read in July video. I already did part 1, which discussed 5 books. In that, I think 2 of the books were like 5 stars. The Sellout by Paul Beatty and All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Those are amazing books. Check them out, especially The Sellout. Everyone should read it because it's really good. And yeah, so this is the second part, and if I finish this, I'm done with all my July reads, and then yay. The first book is Dear Ijeawele, A Feminist Manifesto and 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and the reason I'm speaking so fast is because I already did a video about it and praised it and said that it's a required reading for everyone. Just read it. It's short, it's really, really good, and read it. And I'm going to put the link for the video up here. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about it any more than that. She's great. The book's great. Second book. This book was published this year, 2020 release, The Two Lives of Lydia by Josie Silver. This author wrote another book called One Day in December. I haven't read it. I know that was really popular at one point. I read this instead because my friend had this book, so I'm like, might as well read it. This falls in the chick lit romance genre. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The premise of the book is Lydia is about to get married to her childhood sweetheart, Freddie, and then Freddie dies in a car accident. I don't think that's news. That's on the back, yes. Yes, okay, so Freddie dies in a car accident and her life completely falls apart, and she's trying to like recover from that. This book takes place in a 2-year period, though there's flashbacks to their childhood and all of that. So it's basically her grieving and recovering from grief. I thought the book was decent. What I really liked about it was the characters were all really compassionate and understanding. Here's the thing. She has a really nice supportive family, and I liked that. And no one was unnecessarily dramatic, which I like. And she herself, even when something really bad happens, sometimes she gets angry about something, but she always calms herself down and says, wait, let me... Not that she wouldn't like lash out and say anything rude, but she like then considers her word, apologizes and all. So she seems like a stable person, unlike most romantic comedies which have really bad people, really shitty characters as the protagonists. The other thing about this book is very, very similar to the movie P.S. I Love You. So P.S. I Love You is also a book by Cecilia Ahern, and then it was adapted into a movie. The book P.S. I Love You and the movie P.S. I Love You have significant differences. One is set in America, one is set in Ireland. This book is also set in Ireland. But there's also other differences in the book and the movie. So this book is very similar to the P.S. I Love You movie. I didn't think there was anything exceptional about it. It's fine. If you're bored, read it. I liked it. If you watched the movie P.S. I Love You, then maybe you don't need to read it. It doesn't really cover any new ground. But if you want to, and if you have the time for it, if this is your genre, go for it. Next book is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. This is a classic. It was written in 1912. It is semi-autobiographical. Franz Kafka died pretty young. He did not kill himself. He was just like a sickly man, I think. This book was published in his lifetime. A lot of his work was published after he died. The premise of this book is that the protagonist, Gregor Samsa, wakes up one morning and realizes he has transformed or metamorphosized, is that a word, into a cockroach. Metamorphosis is always a word we use for like caterpillars turning into butterflies, and it has positive connotations when we use it as a metaphor. But here it is a negative connotation of the word, where he has gone from being a human being into this ugly, disgusting insect. Or maybe you like cockroaches, but at least his family seems to think he's turned into this despicable insect. So for me, this book felt like a study of mental illness, though other people have taken away different lessons from this book, maybe like, family dynamic and the pressure of a working life or all of that. But for me, it really felt like a journal of depression. It was really good. It's for such a small book. It packs a lot. I think I gave it 3 stars. I should really check my Goodreads, but I didn't. So I'm pretty sure I gave it 3 stars. It's hard reading books that you're supposed to read in school and analyze with your friends and have a opinion about them, in the sense of, is it enjoyable read? I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of lessons you can take away from this, and if you read it at the right time in your life, it might help you. It's a solid classic, but I would rather read this in academic setting and like really, really analyze it than read it for pleasure. And I read it for pleasure, so that probably didn't help it. So this is Nothing Ventured by Jeffrey Archer. It's the first book I read by Jeffrey Archer. And I don't get the hype. I really don't get it. And I'm not impressed, not at all. This is detective fiction, sort of. And I don't know, it just felt blah. How else do I explain this book? Like, can I read the first page to you and explain to you why? This is literally how the book starts out. Does it have a page before this? No, it does not. So basically, it's a conversation happening between 2 people. It starts, "You can't be serious." "I could be more serious, father, as you'd realize if you ever listened to anything I've been saying for the past 10 years. But you've been offered a place at my old college at Oxford to read law, and after you graduate, you'll be able to join me in chambers. What more could a young man ask for? To be allowed to pursue a career of his own choosing and not just be expected to follow his father's footsteps? Would that be such a bad thing? After all, I enjoyed a fascinating, worthwhile career, and dare I suggest, been moderately successful." And then it goes on. So my issue with this is that it's exposition, and it's not even good exposition. It's just really, 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 really poor exposition, because what kind of father and son talk like this? I don't know who talks like this. Who says, I've been saying for the past 10 years, if you've been saying it for the past 10 years, you wouldn't have to rehash it just as the book starts out. Who says, "My old college at Oxford"? Your son knows where you studied. You wouldn't say "my old college at Oxford." You'd either say Oxford or "my old college." You wouldn't say "my old college, Oxford." What kind of father goes like, "Oh, I'm an architect every single day"? You do not mention your profession, because he does say, "I'm a barrister, I'm a this." I'm like, yes, your son knows your profession. You don't need to say it. Basically, it's just very poorly done exposition. And the first page to have this, it really, like, I was like, this is not gonna be a good book, is it? I feel like I'm hating on it more than it deserves to be hated on. This is for me what fluff is. It's just, you know, the really shitty sitcoms that you sometimes watch. This is Big Bang Theory. No, Big Bang Theory had some good episodes. What is a really shitty TV show? Young and Hungry. This is Young and Hungry. The one thing I thought was a little bit realistic was that fact that he's not just handling one case, he has lots of cases that overlap each other. I'm like, yes, that's probably how a detective's life goes. You're not just doing one case like Sherlock Holmes or something, it's just one on top of the other. I liked that, but then on the flip side, the main protagonist, William Warwick, seems to be what's the word? You know the cinematic trope of Mary Sue, like Rey from Star Wars is called a Mary Sue because they seem to be literally capable of doing anything and everything. Well, he's that way. He seems to be capable of doing anything and everything. Like the Slumdog Millionaire situation, where all the questions that are posed to him seem to have some relevance to his life. Everything that comes his way is in some way relevant to him or is like perfectly matched for his abilities. So I mean, either be realistic or fantastical. It's just no. Oh, I gave this 2 out of 5 stars, by the way. Yeah. Last book I have read in July is The Paradoxical Prime Minister by Shashi Tharoor. I knew Shashi Tharoor was a minister. In fact, I saw him when I was interning for the Parliament in 2016, and I thought it was really cool. Me and my group of interns, all of us liked him, and we're like, oh, cool, he's right there. I did not talk to him. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this story. It's not relevant to this. It's definitely showing you my bias that I like him. So I expected this to be very like pro Congress because he's a Congress MP from Kerala, but it's not necessarily. Shashi Tharoor was an author long before he came into politics. He has published a lot of bestsellers, and I'm impressed with how hard he tries to fall in the center. Where he initially he does talk about like getting a lot of criticism from the press in the first few years of Narendra Modi's tenure as our prime minister. He talks about how he was optimistic about it and he had a good relationship, kind of a decent relationship with Modi, but he did serve on some councils for him. The press gave him a lot of shit for it, saying like you are betraying your party. Very first lines was this, and I thought it was really funny. Wait, let me read it for you. So he's talking about how after Modi was elected as prime minister, he wanted to work with him because like it's not about political parties as much as it's about governance. And he talks about how he tries to be in the middle, and how that is bad because you get attacked by both sides. So this is what he says: the middle of the road, after all, is the place where you get hit by traffic from both directions, which is true. So this book is in 5 sections. The first 2 sections are more like a character profile of Modi. Modi exhibits a lot of character traits that are textbook for a fascist leader or a dictator. I think some of the leaders he compared him to were Mussolini and what's the Libyan one? I forgot. Okay. They say a lot of CEOs exhibit this, like they have antisocial disorder or highly functional sociopaths, where everything is transactional to them and they're very charismatic, but almost like zero emotions. They might have very low emotional intelligence and almost no empathy. Well, Shashi Tharoor is a great writer. No, it's not news to anyone. If you've ever seen him speak, you know he's a great orator, and he has a way of putting across his points in such a well-constructed and thoughtful manner that you can't help but agree with him. I mean, it might seem long, but from everything he covers, it is justified how long it is, because he gets into literally all the policies, all the court decisions, death penalty, Section 377, all the foreign policy decisions, demonetization, GST. There's a lot in here, even stuff I didn't know. It's a good summary of policies and government and political and current events in India in Modi's first term as prime minister. So if nothing else, read it for that. I liked this book, and you should never not read a book because it's not written from a point of view that you necessarily subscribe to, because if you only ever read things that confirm your biases, then you're not really learning much. You should always challenge your notions. And Shashi Tharoor and I might not agree on everything. Like, he does criticize the Modi's government for renaming a lot of government programs and buildings and structures when they're in power to more pro-BJP names. But every government is culpable in this. I know that the Hyderabad airport, Rajiv Gandhi Airport, was not sanctioned in a Congress government. It was under Chandrababu Naidu that it was decided that it's going to be built, but guess who got to name it? A Congress government. So they named it after Rajiv Gandhi, who has barely any stake in Telangana government. Like, what has he got to do with the local government here? So every government is notorious of this. So there are points on which I don't agree with Shashi Tharoor, and that's okay. It's good. Read it if you want to read it. If you don't, then don't. I don't know if Indian politics is something you care about. If you care about Indian political system, read it. It's pretty decent. Yay, done. That's it. Those are the 5 books. Should I show you my Ruth Bader Ginsburg bag? Should I show? Okay. I'm back. Here's my wearing PJs. Don't hate me. So here's my Ruth Bader Ginsburg bag. Well, sorry, it has water stains because my water bottle leaked in it the other day. But there, Ruthie. I bought it at the Strand bookstore in New York. The last time I was there. When was that? Last year in October. I know, cliche, going to New York and going to the Strand bookstore. But don't come at me. I did live in New York for a summer. And I like to think of myself as more than a tourist, though most New Yorkers might not agree. I don't know. And it's a quote by her that I like. Oh, now that I look at it on camera, it's going to be in reverse. I'll read it for you. Time is on the side of change. And that's the message that we should all take away, that do not be against change. Always be open-minded. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this. This is on that note. Bye. My headache has slightly dissipated, so that's nice. There's some pani puri waiting for me outside, so I'm going to go eat that. And oh, this is a little bit inspired by Home Edit. I have been arranging my bookcase by color, but I changed it around a little bit because I was inspired by Home Edit. I already do this with all my clothes, by the way, since college, a little bit. I've always arranged my clothes by color. I just never did it for my books because my bookcase here is alphabetized and it's easier to find your books. I disagree with the Home Edit team. It's not easier to find your books when they're color-coded. It's definitely a lot more easier when it's by last name. I don't know about your decimal system. Do not ask me about this. Because yesterday I was looking for my copy of Rebecca and I could not find it because I remember the front cover was red and gold and black, but I did not realize the spine of it was in green. So I was looking for a red and gold and black book and I couldn't find it. So I'm like, yes, this does not work, because I spent like a good hour panicking that someone came home when I wasn't home and took my book. So no, it does not help. The color is just pretty. It's not very practical. Whereas this side of my book wall is very practical because it is arranged by last name and it's divided into fiction and non-fiction sections. So it's just pretty. That's it. So this works for people who don't like to read much but buy books just to go with their decor. And yes, that is shade thrown at you because I am in a very shady mood today. So I am judging you, definitely judging you if you're just buying books to match with your furniture. Who are you fooling? Who? Bye. Have a nice day. And even if you're not having a nice day, that's okay because we go through dips and peaks. Okay, pani puri time. Bye.